Hi, welcome to Visual Basic. In this example, I will go over strings and substrings and some built-in functions in Visual Basic that you can use to manipulate strings. So a string is basically just a collection of characters, okay, which is always coded in the program using a pair of double quotes like you see here. So I'm declaring a string variable called str as string type assigns the value of the word apple here to the string. Okay, so a string is a collection of characters, and you can actually get a single or a sub string of that string out of that string, right? So we have a built-in function called substring. You can attach it to a string characters or a string variable like this here, and this substring function or method takes two parameters. One is the starting position, which is the index position of that string, and then the second parameter here is optional. You can, if you don't supply the second parameter here, then it's gonna include every character from this position on to the end of that string, right? So that's what it is. So you can also limit to how many characters you want to count and return based on this number of characters count here. So here in the textbook, just some useful string properties and methods you can use. So this length here will give you the number of characters in the string, including spaces, punctuation marks, and anything that is composed of a string character. Again, just to make sure that the string length is not equal to the index or the maximum index position of that string character. Okay, so Visual Basic is one of those zero-based languages, which means we're counting everything from the zeroth position all the way to the length -1 position. Okay, you can also force your string to be all uppercase or lowercase, which is useful if you want to compare string characters if you don't really care about capitalization. You can also trim the string if you have any leading or trailing white spaces. You can trim them out, so you can either actually remove all the white spaces. It does not remove white spaces in between. So for example, if you have the word for example, if you have the word like 1, 2, 3 hike here, there is this white space here. Okay, that white space will not be removed using trim. Trim only removes. You can also trim left or trim right. Okay, on the right side or the left side of the character or the word. For example, here, if you look at A has no white spaces, so you're fine there. But B has a trailing white space and a leading white space. So if you put trim, then it's going to trim both ends. And so as you can see, A has no white space, B has two of them. You trim those white spaces and you append each of those with the C, which also has no space, so the result is ABC. Otherwise, if you don't put trim here, we have A space B space C. Okay, so that's just some really cool, very nice built-in functions to help you. And here we look at the index of a string. So if you look at the string here, every character counts, okay, including white spaces and punctuation marks and so on. So this string has about 11 characters. And how do I know that so quickly? Well, if you look at the index position here, it's 10. And if you know the index number, then you always know the length of the character of the string, which is always +1. And vice versa, if you know the total length of the string, then you also know the maximum index, which is always -1. Okay, so if I tell you, okay, this string has 25 characters, then the max index is 24. And if I say the max index of a string is 12, then the max character in that string is 13. Okay, so just make sure you understand those two completely well, because those, the index will also be the same case for arrays when we learn array next week. All right, so a substring is a string. It's a sequence of consecutive characters. Notice the word consecutive here. Okay, you can't jump around. Okay, for a substring, at any given time is a collection of of strings that is part of another string. So in this example here, I have the word spam and eggs. Then spa is a substring. Okay, SPA. AM is a substring. Egg is a substring. The entire string is a substring of itself. Okay, depending on the M, which is the starting position, and the number of characters count. Okay, it's not the end position; it's the counting characters from the starting position here, anywhere you start, and how many characters you want to count will include from there on. Okay, if you don't provide the end here, then it's going to count from wherever you start all the way to the end of that string. If you want to limit that, then you have to supply a value here, an integer value, to tell the program to stop counting, and it will return the substring to another, usually another string variable, right? Okay, so using this concept, let's go into the program in Visual Basic and do a little example here. So I'm going to use a very simple form. I'm going to output to the console instead of to the form here. So double click, and inside here I'm going to just turn this off for now. And I'm just going to create a string, dim string, string, and we'll put the word apple, just like we had earlier, just all lowercase for now. And so if you want to print out the entire string, we know how to do it, right? Just console dot write line, and I'll put that there for now. And you can so I have a blink line, a white line, write line again. I'll put the word string here, the variable string, and that should print the word apple down here, right? So you see that it has the word apple down here. Okay, in the console. Alright, and this again, this line here, just to give me the white space, right line there. You can do that by using a separate line, or you can use this VBCRLF. I mean clear, I mean it's a character return and then a line feed. And if you do that, you get the same result. So if I were to take this out, okay, and then you get the same output. I have a blank line. If you put two of them, then you have two lines, and so on. So that is a string. Okay, let me copy this, and if I want to show just the first character, right? Then let me remove this for now. I just need the first line. Then you can put in here the substring of starting at the position 0. Okay. If you do that, then basically you are going to print everything out just like the word apple, the 0th position, which is A, and it means goes all the way to the end of that, which is apple. So you see that I have apple apple down here. Okay, that's exactly the same. If you want to limit that substring to a one character, you just put 1 here, starting at position 0. I want only one character out of that. So that should be A, and if you want to count 2 characters or 3, right, that would be the word app. Okay, let me just put that here, A. This would be app. Okay, and if you want to include, let's just say from the 3rd character, and you want to count 2 characters from there. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, so it's going to be from L, and 2 characters, so LE. So this should be LE. Okay, so let's see if that is correct. So as you can see, we have right, apple, which is the string. The index 0 all the way is apple. Then 0th position, 1 character is A, 0, 3, APP, and LE. Okay, so once you understand this, then you can actually use it to do a lot of things. Like, for example, one of the exercises in the assignment is to check whether this word is a palindrome, right? A palindrome is a word or phrase that is that you can read in either direction. So apple is not, because you read apple here or you spell the apple this way, you cannot spell it in the other direction. But if you do like I, for example, that is a palindrome. You can spell EYE in either direction, right? Also same with characters. If you put 1, 2, 1, that is a palindrome. But 1, 2, 1, 2 or 1, 1 is no longer a palindrome because if you check the left or the right order, they don't match. Okay, what it means is that so if you have the word EYE here, it has 3 characters, index of 0, 1, and 2. That means that you can check the first character, which is like this one here, right? So 0 and 1. You check that against the last character. In this case, it would be 2, right? 0, 1, 2. So it would be 2. And you just want 1 character out of that. Right? So if I do this, you will see that this should be E, big E, and this is little e. And again, if you want to check to see if it's a palindrome, you want to ignore the case. So it should be equal. You want to force it to be both lowercase or both uppercase. But in this case, just to show you that if I do this, I get the letter big E and the little e. Okay, and then because of that, you can compare. If E is equal E, then that's good. It looks good. And then the next thing is, because you'll be putting this into a loop, you want to increment your index. Okay, so you'll be moving now next to the Y, and then the other side will be moving down to the Y as well. So instead of hard coding this position here as 0 and 2, I would do like maybe L for the left and then R for the right, and then through each iteration or each loop, each cycle, you would increment the left to 1, decrement that to a -1, and you check that, and you check the value to make sure they are equal. Okay, and so that is how strings are used for that purpose. You can check whether a character is in a string, you know, and all sorts of stuff with it. You can remove white spaces again. I showed you earlier. You can also remove any substring that contains a certain characters out of it, so that you can you know, check for other stuff. Alright, so I hope this is helpful to help you solve the problem, the palindrome problem. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email or post a comment below. Thank you.